Well, hey everybody, welcome back. We've been on a bit of a weathering spree lately, but when we last left our operations session, the Manchester local was exiting the yard. I parked it exactly as we left it, and I have been on a bit of a weathering spree lately, and so I noticed that only that B&O box, the second in the train, has been weathered. And I thought before I go back to the operations, why don't I weather the other three of these? So I've got a gondola there at the beginning of the train and a couple of boxcars on the end to do. All three different colors, so maybe some different approaches here. That New Haven gondola is pretty old. A build date in the 20s, just like the last gondola I did. And then the other two, that Seaboard Airlines silver car and a Detroit, Toledo, and Ironton, I believe, yellow boxcar are a bit newer, so maybe just some simple fading there. So let's get after it. All right, all three cars have been given a bath, and I just ran up to, there's a hobby town not too far from where I live, and I just ran up there, and they had their stock was pretty depleted, but they had about half the washes in stock, and I grabbed them all. I've been watching other guys use these for a while, and I think I'm going to work those in somehow, probably into the panels of the gondolas here and there, get some variation, and I might monkey around with some of it on the roof as well on these two. We'll see. But I've been meaning to pick some of those up for a while and mess around with them, so I'm excited to do that and mix and match the techniques I've done and anything I've already shown in the last two videos. I won't show it again. I'll just speak to it and show new stuff to y'all. So that's where we are. All right, so I've done a dot fade. I'm pretty happy with it. I think the gondola, yeah, got a decent little fade to it now. But this yellow car is just fighting me. I did the whole fade, and it doesn't look like the yellow is as faded as it should be. And in my palette, I used I usually use a color similar to the car. I used yellow ochre, and then that purple is the contrasting color for the yellow. But I think what's happening is that yellow ochre just sort of overwhelmed the white I had on there first. So I'm going to do this again with just white dots and see how it goes, because I really want to, the yellow should be faded. It fades fast in the sun. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so under layout lighting, that extra layer of white on there, I'm happy with how that kind of faded that yellow down a bit, especially on the roof. I put lots of extra layers of white up on the roof, and that's what I was going for. So that looks sun bleached. The silver car, a little bit challenging. Most of what you can see in terms of the fade here is sort of the brown, dirty colors, and that's okay. It kind of takes off some of the sheen, and obviously there'll be some matte coat before that's all said and done. And I'm definitely going to give this one a pin wash to make some of those rivets stand out. And then the gondola, nice little base fade there. We'll have an adventure with rust on that one. So that's where we are after the dot fade. All right, so here's how the three cars look after I did a pin wash on all three and have come back in with a matte coat. And I used the same that Starship Filth sort of grimy black color on both the Seaboard, that silver star boxcar there, as well as the gondola. And then on the yellow boxcar, I used a yellow ochre wash for the pin wash. So I didn't want to make it look as dirty as the Seaboard car, but I still wanted to pull the rivets and some of the detail out. And I feel like that change in color worked pretty well for that. So that's what that looks like after the pin wash. So now all three cars have their fading step and their pin wash, and this is where their paths are going to diverge a little bit. So the yellow boxcar on the right, pretty much done here. When I get the airbrush out to do the trucks and underside with the dust, I'll dust up the bottom of the car just a little bit, and I'm going to call that one done. So I'm going to put that one to the side now and turn my attention to the other two. And the silver car, I'm not going to do a whole lot of rust on that one, but I am going to do a little bit of chipping on the the red paint, just to knock it back to the silver paint, you know, where some of that red has maybe worn thin on the logo, the heart, where it says Silver Star, some of those bigger letters. And then I'll probably be done with that one as well. I may chip the ladders and, you know, some of the rungs and a little bit on the roof. I'm not going to go nuts with it. I'm not going to rust that car very much. So that leaves the gondola. And this one I'm going to rust a lot and have some fun with it and try some new stuff. So that's where we are from here. I'll show the chipping. So we'll do some chipping, just, you know, some of the silver to make that Silver Star and the logo wear down a bit. We'll do on this one, we'll do some rust chipping, and then we'll come back and do a lot more streaking and some funky rusting here. I may try some stuff in the body of it, and probably revisit those solutions there. So that's our next steps. All right, so I started the chipping there, but I was using a silver color that I'd tinted a little bit with raw sienna to kind of match the color of the car. But it's got little sparkles in it. I just don't like the way that's looking. I did a whole big bunch of it right there on the cardboard so you can see what I'm talking about, but it's got these little sparkles in it, and it doesn't look right. So I'm gonna mess around with some cheap gray here and see if I can't tint it and get it pretty close and use that. I'd rather have it a little bit more dead flat than that sparkly stuff. All right, so just a little bit of that additive chipping there. I think once the matte coat goes on, you won't be able to see that that's like a new layer. I'm thinking that'll blend in better, but I wanted to make the gray show through some of the red there. So that's what that was. And the gondola, I've been sponging on all kinds of rust, different colors and different layers to get to that. I'm probably gonna do a little bit more. Using a lot of the AK Interactive dark rust and old rust. And I was also using just some artist acrylics, burnt umber, a good bit of burnt sienna and raw sienna. That burnt umber was just kind of blended in with the brown of the car. So that's when I started going to some lighter colors. I also did just some sort of steel colored chips before I started doing the rust. So some of that darker that you see is sort of black and burnt umber mixed together to get kind of like just a raw steel look to it. So I'm going to keep layering on here. I want this to be really rusted up. So having fun with that, and we'll check back in once I've done a little bit more. All right, so after the acrylics were sponged on earlier, I gave it a gloss coat, and then I did back to the oils, some rust streaking. Did some on this side, and I'll pause the video and show you the other side. There we go. This is the other side. I definitely wanted this thing to be a bit of a rust bucket, so I'll let that cure, and I got some on the ends too, just some streaks there. And then I'm still waiting for this iron pigment to cure so I can do the rust treatment in the interior, just like I did on the last gondola. So that's what it looks like right now. You know, looks filthy. Tons of rust and streaking, and you know, I like how that's coming together. I think I actually like the other side better, but it looks rusty. All right, so here's where we are. Everything's gotten a matte coat now. That car's done. Other than the dust. That car is also done other than the dust. And now you can kind of see what I did with the sponge there. Getting a little bit of that raw steel coming through. And also a little of that grayish over some of the logos and stuff, just to make them appear to be peeling. So did the oil streaking on the gondola. And I think all I'm going to do now with the matte coat that's on there protecting the oil is come in and put a couple of dark dots of acrylic at the top of some of those streaks, so it looks like the rust is give it the rust spot to then be streaking from. I put so much streaking on there that it covered up a lot of the chips I had done before, so I'm going to go back and touch that up. And I've got tape over the top because I'm protecting the interior of it. It's got that oxidation, iron and oxidation stuff going on in there, and I didn't want to get the clear coat in there and disrupt any of that. So that's where we are. I'll come back when that's done. All right, so that's extremely subtle, but I came in with the, there's nothing subtle about this rest, but the step I just did. I came in just with some burn umber and the smallest brush I have that I use for acrylics, and just put some dots kind of near the tops of those streaks to give the rust somewhere to be coming from. And just kind of created some pinhole rust type effects up along the top there. So did the same thing on the other side. I think I'm going to stop there. All right, so I treated the wheels and trucks and the bottom of those 3 cars we were working on with the same Tamiya dust mixture that I always use. And now they're done and on the train.